Hello, welcome to the THC show, the show where we try to find out some of the truths going on in our world and find some hope for people as well, because the truths can be a little bit down sometimes, and find some ways to change things. I will say that hope is at the core of finding change. Everything starts with hope. If you don't have hope, you don't even bother taking a step forward. So hope is very, very important. We've been involved in this worldwide pandemic for the last few months here. I think we're moving into week number 10 here in British Columbia, and our number today of new cases that they've discovered is 2. And in the previous week, we've been well under 20 cases every day here in British Columbia. Other places around the world, it is of a much greater concern. But here in British Columbia, we have it under control. All of the new cases recently have been in care facilities. And it was 2 weeks ago today that the city of Vancouver, the people in Vancouver, many of them, decided on their own that we were relatively safe here, and that if we were all smart about it, that we could go out in public and we could start gathering together. And so the beaches have been rather full. The sidewalks along the beaches have been shoulder to shoulder. And we've had a lot of people out, and a lot of people that would be considered violating the 2-meter rule, which, if you're smart about it and you recognize that it is under control here the way that it is, and there are no new cases, then I think that we don't need to be as concerned about that. Being smart for me means that, we take care of the elderly and the vulnerable. And I think that's going to be done, for a long time to come, that we're going to be really concerned about how we deal with our adult parents and things like that. If we're out and about in the community, we're probably washing our hands when we come home before we go up and give grandma a hug or whatever that. So that's just fine. Because the other side of this, of course, is all of the other damage that's happening that's a result of the announcement of a pandemic and all of the closing down of everything that's happened from that. There is a lot of damage being done by that. There's a lot of businesses that are not going to reopen. In fact, the latest numbers look to be around 40%. I heard 42% this morning of the businesses that have been polled will not be coming back. Many of our favorite businesses are not able to survive. The mom and pop, the small places that have really been hit hard by this, and we won't see them anymore. So that's really not good at all. The government, as usual, is way behind the people on this, and it's going to start to get a little bit irritating here in British Columbia, as people continue to try to be strict about rules that really aren't necessary anymore. And so this is a way that we're getting to find out, who the Nazis are amongst us, really, because there's a lot of people that are really overly scared about things and forcing behaviors on other people that really just aren't justified. Thankfully, the enforcement unit at Transit today, where there's a lot of people, they're opening up the Sky Trains again, and there's a fair amount of people on transit, and there's some that are not physically distancing the way that it's being recommended that we continue to do. But the transit authorities, the enforcement people, say they're not there to enforce that. And good on them. And until we have numbers to justify it, then we should now relax. But like I say, not if you have people that are vulnerable, not if you're working in care homes. I would hope that the people working in care homes where there's possibilities, where all of the latest cases have been, are not leaving their shift at work and then going out and mingling in large groups with people, that they are taking a real serious take on this for themselves and for the people that they're dealing with on a daily basis. So hopefully that will happen. There's more evidence that cannabis is going to be part of the solution with dealing with coronavirus, at least as an adjunct therapy. There's certain strains of cannabis reduce the viral receptor activity up to 75%. So that's pretty good, and that's amazing, and good on cannabis again for being seen as it is, as one of nature's medicines and a plant that has coexisted in a symbiotic relationship with us for millennia, and should never have been prohibited, should never have been restricted. And I see Mick's here. He's anxious to get on.
No, you said the magic word.
Oh, okay, there you go. And that's good. You know what I didn't talk about right off the top, which I always do, is who's going to be the guests on the show today. And I delayed a little bit because I hadn't heard from Mick today, so I was a little bit concerned maybe he wouldn't show up. But he's here, so that's obviously good. And also 8 out of 10, Glenn is here for the 420 session, and Jerry Martin will be joining us for the Martin Medical Moment. So that's all awesome as well. And I've still got a few minutes here to chat on about some things. What I really wanted to talk about is, prohibition in the first place, and just how ludicrous that was. I mean, we're living in what is obviously a pretty upside down world with the way things have gone on with this particular virus, and our governments have seized a whole bunch of power, and maybe rightfully so. I mean, time will tell when we unpack just who did what, right, wrong, and for what reasons. But the idea of prohibiting cannabis and prohibiting other plant medicines and natural substances is and has always been one of the most ludicrous things that I personally have ever encountered. It resulted in me quitting my job a long time ago to try to do something about it, because it just doesn't make any sense at all. Talk about upside down, backwards, inside out. I mean, this plant, cannabis, which was the main target of prohibition. I mean, they target some other plants as well, but there's never been any more interest and effort and money spent on trying to keep people from using a particular substance than cannabis. That's for damn sure. And how opposite is that? Because cannabis is a natural plant that we've been growing up with for millions of years, evolving on this planet. It can't even kill people by overdose, which is extremely rare because almost every other plant in nature can kill with overdose and fairly, without too much effort as well. But because we have such an ancient symbiotic relationship with this plant, it even can't kill us no matter how much we ingest. It's medicine. It helps us with just about everything that can go wrong physically, emotionally, mentally with us because of that symbiotic relationship. And because, you're not just what you eat. They say you are what you eat. Well, really, you tweak who you are with what you eat, and you can turn yourself into a fat blob, or you can deny yourself food to the point of being a skinny little rake. But your real genetics of who you really are and what's all your genetic predispositions are all about are all regulated by an endocannabinoid system that has been evolving along with us and the vertebrates on this planet for millennia. So for them to prohibit that is just such an abomination, so outrageously obscene, and always has been, that, I as an ordinary person living in the mainstream with a family and just wanting to go about my life, when confronted with the truth about the reasons for prohibition and the damage being caused by the attempt to prohibit cannabis, resulted in me having to quit my job and dedicate all of my waking hours and most of my dreams to figuring out what to do about this. Because so many people are being hurt in the first place, so many people are being denied medicine that would help them and save them, but more than that, it's the cost to our society in so many ways. The obvious financial costs, which is likely in the trillions, even here in Canada, over the 100-long-year war against people wanting to consume, grow, and supply cannabis. But around the world, it's just astonishing. But there's a lot more costs to it as well. The fights amongst families, the arguments and the disowning of family members, the penalizing of people for choosing what is really a healthy, safe choice compared to just about anything else that you would want to use for whatever it is you want to use things for. The lies that we've been told by government, the disrespect that's happened for police, the criminal organizations that have had to rise up and do all the heavy lifting and get the substances to the people that demand it in a world of prohibition, and all that goes along with that particular side of things. It's just one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever encountered. I mean, and there's more. I mean, there's other ridiculous things. I mean, the Mayans used to think it was a really good thing if you were chosen to have your daughter slaughtered to worship the gods. So, I mean, I don't know how I could wrap my head around that, but they did. But here in my lifetime, we've had to wrap my head around the idea that, you're good to go standing on a street corner puffing down on commercial tobacco that kills about 5 million people every 12 months on the planet, and you're fine to do that. The government will sell it to you and make money on the purchase. But, you stand there and smoke some weed. And I know it's legal now in Canada, to smoke some weed. But, many, many other parts of the world it certainly is not. And I'm talking about in my lifetime, this ridiculous notion that standing there on the street corner with friends of mine killing themselves with commercial tobacco, they're fine. I'm puffing down on a medicinal herb to help me relax that's never killed anybody. And I could have the cops come up, decide that I'm the criminal in the group, and drag me away and throw me into a cell. It actually happened to me. So, just total ludicrous nonsense that is there only because it's all about money, of course. If it doesn't make sense, it probably makes money. You can pretty much count on that. When you see any government policy or anything that doesn't make sense, check it out. It's making money for somebody. That's why it's there. So all the illogical shit in our world, all the infringements on our freedom, all of the lies being told by government is all based on greed. It's all based on trying to exploit a population of people for what they've got that the other people want. And usually it's your money or your time or your energy. So the bottom line for me, of course, is that what we deserve to have, what we don't have, what this flies in the face of course, is basic freedom. Just basic freedom, that's all. And freedom is not something that's granted to us by anybody unless you're a prisoner. I mean, if you've been kidnapped, I guess you get your freedom granted to you. But theoretically, we're not kidnapped here, although are we? Because, you're born here and you got parents that get to tell you that you're not free amongst them, that, you don't know what the hell you're doing. They do. They brought you here. They own you. They're going to tell you to do shit you don't want to do and that you can't do stuff. That's your parents. That's life as you arrive on this planet. It may or may not be right, but it's probably for the best because they're usually right. You don't really know shit. And they do know a lot more than you. And hopefully they can help protect you until you do decide to do things for yourself. But once you decide to do things for yourself, and they're not in the picture anymore because you've decided that, you are now to that point in your life where you say, Mom, Dad, guardians, whoever, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the efforts that you've done on my behalf. And I know that you love me, but I don't share all of your values because we never share all of our parents' values. That'd be extremely rare. And now I'm going to go out and live my own life, and I'm going to be me, and I'm going to do me, and I thank you, and goodbye. Well, after that, nobody else gets to come along and start pushing you around and telling you that you can't do what you want to do, and you have to do things you don't want to do unless you're hurting somebody else. And other people do get to tell you to stop doing shit that's hurting other people, because that's a responsibility that we all have. We have a responsibility not only to not hurt people ourselves, but to stop other people from hurting people too. Doesn't matter if it's your parents or not. Your neighbor next door, the person across the street, the person riding the bus for you. You start hurting somebody else, they have a responsibility to stop you. We all have a responsibility to stop people that are hurting other people. It's just part of life here. But we also have a right not to be hurt by other people, not to be bullied by other people. So that's a right that's not been respected for the most part as far back as history goes. We have had kings and queens and dictators and tyrants and rulers of all sort that have taken over large amounts of people and decided that it's their way or the death way, usually. So that's not right, never been right, and we've tried to rise up against that, and we've fought that with logic and wars and all kinds of different things. And now we have something called dumbocracy, and within that they give lip service to freedom. And we're supposed to be free here, and freedom would be nice. Freedom is a right that is deserved by everybody until you don't deserve to be free because you repeatedly hurt people. But that's just the world we're in right now. And for 100 or 200 years here, we've had this system of democracy and so-called freedom here, and it's been evolving. But unfortunately, it's not evolving the right way. It's not been evolving to give us more freedom and to define more and more what a public servant is and what the role of public servants are. It's become more and more like a rotating dictatorship that we get to vote in who our masters are for their 4-year terms. And every one of the groups that we elect into these positions, which is supposed to be servitude to the public, not mastertude and lordship, but every one of these groups that we've voted in every time has come in and created new laws. Not dismantled the old laws, new laws. So now we've got a society that's full of laws. All kinds of different laws everywhere you turn around. The regulations, the restrictions, the laws get more and more, not less and less. So we really need to have a new sit down and thought about what this democracy should be, what the role of public servants should be, where their limits should be, and how we should make them accountable for what they're doing, how they should be transparent in all of their activities. We could have MP Watch, where we get to tune in to anybody's member of parliament and just see what they're doing, because they're there. from the time they leave their house in the morning until they're back at the end of their workday, we can see what they're doing. The meetings that they're having, the decisions that they're making should all be there for public scrutiny. Why the hell not? What are they trying to hide? So we don't have that going on, but we should. We need to keep working on it, and hopefully we will. But let's not just let it keep on going the way it's been going, because the way it's been going is they are having more and more control over our lives, and we are less and less free. I mean, one of the best examples of that is so-called legalization. We have been fighting for legalization for a very long time. We have been speaking serious truth to corrupt power. The truths are obvious and evident. There is no crime in growing, selling, possessing cannabis. A crime is intentionally doing damage, significant damage to somebody else. It's determined by a set of scales where they can prove without a doubt that it was you that did significant damage that pulls down that side of the set of scales, and then a penalty to match that. You have to have known in your mind that you were going to do that damage before you did it. Or maybe just be so stupid that you should have thought about it, and they call that criminal negligence. Or maybe you made a whole bunch of money, so you turned a blind eye to what was really going to harm people, and that's also criminal. But for the most part, you knew in your mind before you struck your fist out or stole what you stole that you were hurting somebody that didn't deserve to be hurt that way. And you did it anyway. So you had what they call the mens rea in your mind of knowing and understanding what it is your actions are going to do. Then you had the actus rea of going out and doing the actual deed itself. And there's none of that going on with cannabis possession, growing, or dealing. There is no intent to harm. There is no victim that has been harmed. There's no act that would have caused harm to anybody, except the bottom line profits of corporations and corrupt government officials. That's who's harmed by cannabis, but not a crime. Never should have been a crime, never was a crime. So we've had all the ammunition and they've had none. There's never been a good reason to prohibit cannabis. In a world especially where we have alcohol sponsored by government and commercial tobacco and toxic pharmaceuticals and sugar, for God's sakes, and pesticides, and we could go on, of all the dangerous, harmful things in the world. And of all the dangerous things in the world, cannabis is not one of them. In fact, in all the things in the world, cannabis is one of the safest and least toxic and most beneficial. So to have prohibition against that was completely ludicrous and obscene as far as what freedom and democracy is supposed to all be about. So in the news, we have an example of exactly what we're talking about, because legalization that we fought for, with all the right things to say and them having no ammunition to continue it, has continued under the guise of legalization. Now they have legal government stores. Oh, 419. Roll them up. You got 1 minute. I got 1 minute. Legal government stores are an abomination and not ever to be supported until they stop having overpriced, overpackaged, overdried, undercured, fucking corrupt weed. Corrupt because they use the money to put down other growers and people that have been helping people get a medicinal herb forever. So, yeah, don't go to their stores. Legalization is a farce. We deserve real freedom. And the news today is that the Edmonton Police Services, since the 16th of this month, have been rounding up over 100 of the online cannabis distributors that are not part of the government system and taking names of their customers and trying to charge the people behind those sites. Just more criminal corruption by your public servants, and something I'm not very happy about. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. If you're not happy about what they're doing in Edmonton, please call Cheryl Verdenhout. She's at 1-780-421-3507. And tell her how unhappy you are that our government is involved in a protection racket for corrupt, greedy, corporate bastards. That's my take on that. It's 420. I got weed in front of me. Where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? Some little fairy godfather just dropped me off some weed here. Yeah. I have to roll some of that up. So it's 420, and as always, I have 8 out of 10 Glenn joining me for the 420 session. How you doing, Glenn?
Good afternoon, Neil.
Good afternoon, sir.
And I'm
I got something I got to do first.
Yes. Oh,
You wouldn't be here.
Yes.
Without your mom.
I wouldn't be here without my mom.
And your mom did such a fine job of raising such a fine fellow. I can definitely attest to that.
Thank you very much.
And she also did a pretty good job of extending her life to 75 years.
3/4 of a century.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
I consider anybody over 50 to be in bonus time myself. So that's just how I feel about
sure
that.
My mom appreciates that.
Well, she deserves it. She did a good job. So on that note, I've been known to sing happy birthday.
Yes.
I'm going to try not to overwhelm the microphone like I did at 420 this time.
Yeah, just a little
But
bit.
Violet, this is for you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Violet. Happy birthday to you.
Love you, Mom. Thank you,
Neil. And many more. I hope that came off okay. We really don't know.
Well,
we haven't tried any singing other than 420, which
I'm
didn't
sure
work.
we'll get it in the comments or something if there is a problem.
There probably was.
I
don't know.
You got some weed there.
I do.
And I have a nice cannabis cigar for us to smoke, because last week you said that we could actually share it now. We're in phase 2 restrictions.
Yeah.
Things are a little bit better now.
Yeah.
Groups of 5 and 6 are good. Things to do outside, they say. So Custom Smoke Canada sent us this, and we get to smoke this for free.
So who was that sent it to us?
Customs Smoke Canada. So they're on.
And what do? They provide those things?
They make artisan tips and custom papers, and so they can give you a bunch of these empty, and you can fill them yourself, or they can sell you a bunch of them with distillate and some shotters or weed in them also. So they're at Facebook at customsmoke.com, and also on Instagram at customsmoke_403. So
well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and we're gonna get some more. I was talking to him today, so within a couple of weeks we'll probably have a few more to smoke. So we'll light this up.
All right. Test my limits here. I'm a lightweight now, Probably what Mick gave me is more than I need too.
Do you remember smoking this on New Year's? On Davie Street?
Say who?
We smoked one of these on New Year's on Davie Street.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Wow, I'm rolling a big fatty here. So what's this got in it, do you think?
He didn't tell me.
Okay.
Nope. But he's making up some nice ones for you. He says, I got a special roll just for you guys.
All right, now I'm feeling like Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I know. It's got gold wrapping on it. There. It's actual gold wrapping. It's got a nice wooden tip. So, yeah. I don't know if Neil's going to join in, but you and I will.
Oh, I'm pretty sure all those guys over there want to join in on this.
I don't know, Mick, do you want to join in? Really? Jerry? Come on in.
He's got to Lysol off the tip there.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice, eh?
Did you watch that? Mick probably doesn't want any of that.
Do you want any, Mick? No, all right. I saw you doing the social distancing thing, so I figured, he's not going to want that.
Well, I'm in the high-risk group, so I have to be careful.
Understandable. Totally understandable. And that's what it is. We just got to respect other people's wishes right now.
I do.
Yeah. If you want a hug, I'll give you a hug. If you don't want a hug, we'll do a fist pump or something, all right?
Yeah.
And you gave me some bud. Right here. It was berry, what?
It's blackberry breath.
Blackberry breath.
I just rolled it up right here.
Yeah, Neil's about to smoke it.
It's blackberry kush crossed with meat breath.
Ooh, blackberry kush crossed with meat breath. Nice. I'm going to smoke that as soon as I sit on my couch.
No, you're going to smoke some in just a moment.
You're going to smoke some in a moment, all right.
Came out of my grow tent.
That's nice. And is it a big tent? You just got 4 plants in there?
It's big enough for 4.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Nice.
This is definitely a 420 session.
Oh, this is definitely 420. Oh, you know what? I'll save one of those joints for Cannabis Day. Because one of those cigars.
I'm rocking the shirt every time here.
There is going to be
because we get closer and closer to the date. and the numbers continue to be amazing. Total of 2 new cases.
Yeah.
They're testing everybody
And
in the
they're
care
telling us
homes
to
that they
do
can
stuff
find that they
outside.
think, and everybody that calls in and says they got what they think might be symptoms, and only 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's very tasty too.
Oh,
Man,
bet
man.
you it is.
This is amazing. Look at the weight to that.
Oh, I know. Eh? That's like a good $100 cigar.
Yeah.
They were very nice with them to send that to us.
I was surprised to see Michael Jordan smoking cigars.
Really, eh?
I wouldn't have been surprised to see him smoking weed,
Yeah.
but apparently
It even tastes good as an edible, Mick. I just ate some of it. That's nice.
yeah, that's something else there. What did he say? Did you watch that series?
No, you were watching it.
Yeah.
And you watched it again.
It's over now.
Oh, is it?
I've watched it all. It's pretty good. But he makes the comment about, before like the big game.
Yeah.
I think it was before the game that won the championship the third year, the second time, third year.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something, well, I've had a beer, had a cigar,
Now he's gonna go play?
had a soak in the tub. He's ready to play.
Oh, wow, eh?
He was bopping to music. He
Yeah.
had some music there from a musician friend of his, hadn't released the album yet, but he gave it to MJ.
Oh, wow.
So, but he was a real different cat, that's for sure.
And I think you're going to be able to pull off Cannabis Day because Bonnie Henry is telling us to do stuff outside, right?
Well,
So that's good.
we're on a trajectory to be able to have it.
Yeah.
I got to say that. There's no way around it, and especially with the numbers being 2 today.
Yes. Yes.
This is 15 days. It was 2 weeks ago today since all the people came out of their homes, or a lot of people, not
Yeah.
everybody. I'm sure lots of people stayed in their homes that are afraid to come out.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of people that came back out into the streets 2 weeks ago today.
Yeah.
And so, everybody's going, oh no, we'll see what the numbers are.
And even traffic
here
was
we are.
bad today this morning in
Traffic's been
Vancouver,
bad.
so a lot of people are going back to work and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we'll have to
Well,
see.
this is good. And
Yes.
once again, we will see. But I've
Yeah.
been saying this since Easter weekend. We will see. And what we've been seeing is nothing but low numbers and I guess smart people.
And this was a sad thing, but remember last week when we were talking about what it coulda, shoulda, they're always saying this could happen or this could, this. Well, and what did I say? An airplane could fly over your house and crash. And what happened?
That did happen.
Wow, that's really sad.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
was
it
really sad.
actually happened in Kamloops,
Yeah.
where the snowbird flew over and crashed right in front of somebody's home.
Yeah, and
Right,
the
the people
pilot
made it out.
ejected,
The old
but
couple
she
made
still
it. Yeah,
died.
yeah. They were too close to the ground. The parachutes didn't even come out. Right, and you can see it on the video.
Horrible.
It's so sad, and shout out to the families.
Life is very precious for each individual.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it on this planet, but each individual, should really value their own little time
Well, those
time period.
snowbirds have been part of our lives, they said, since the 1970s or something like that. So
Just trying to cheer people up during a pandemic.
yeah, and people are saying, oh, those planes are so old. But like one of the Scratch, one of the leaders that they used to have, he said those planes only fly for a few hours a day. They're not out there doing like an airline
Yeah.
where it's thousands of hours. So
Right.
even though they're that old, they haven't been flowing that much. And he
Right.
said it's not like a car when it gets old and stuff
Oh,
like
I
that,
imagine
right?
they use,
But in the
hydro-
video, you do hear
Good
the
safety
engine go pop.
Oh yeah.
You can hear it, yes. They've even circled it out that you hear a pop as she's going up. And then that's when trouble happens. And then you can see her. He says that they purposely try to go up so they have altitude to eject. And so the parachutes will activate and save their lives. But the plane just went up, it stalled, and it started going down like this. And as they got out, it was just too low. Right? It's way too low. One hit the roof. He's still alive, and she hit the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad for them.
Yeah, but that's more like the woulda couldas that can really happen. You never know, right?
I saw a picture today, a memory from the Global Marijuana March last year.
Oh yeah,
Another,
I remember that. We're all walking down the
another
street.
casualty of
Yeah,
the pandemic.
Jeremiah was dressed up in his Star Wars stormtrooper
Right.
unit. Yes, I remember. And Carly was Princess Leia or something. I
Yeah.
think. Yes, there was a whole bunch of us down there when I did that whole
It's
video.
been fun. I can't imagine that it could get shut down by anything, and then here's some little tiny microbe.
Does it have to be in May? Right? As if it's a global marijuana march, maybe we could do it
yeah.
to Cannabis Day.
Yeah,
Right?
Hard to get
Yeah.
global.
Yes, yeah.
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 No, we're not doing anything global yet. That's
No,
for sure.
no.
We're in a bubble
maybe
here
we get
again.
global TV to follow it for
Yeah.
us.
How global you're gonna get.
That's about as
about
global.
So you took a trip. You went and saw Sterling.
Yes, I went and see the professor in Saskatoon.
That looked awesome.
He's a single parent, right? He's got 2 girls and a boy.
Right.
And so we
You
took
went
Isabel.
fishing.
We took Isabel out there to go fishing.
Nice.
Isabel's only been fishing on the ocean once, so this time it was river fishing, which was a little bit different for her.
I'm rocking a new mustache toker here.
Yes. So we did about 7 hours of fishing. Didn't catch anything that day, but she never gave up, and kids had
Well,
fun.
the fish have been self-isolating for a while, too.
Yeah, I know.
They're not coming out to play.
From people.
They're having their food delivered.
Yeah, so we took the south way there through Calgary, and then we took Jasper on the way back, which is another hour of a drive, basically. So it's like
Nice.
13 or 15 and a half hours if you go to the south, 16 and a half if you go up north.
So Saskatchewan's been doing really good with the the virus. Alberta, not so much. Did you wash your hands when you came out of Alberta?
We only stayed in Alberta in Cochrane, and then we left in the morning, and yes, we did wash our hands. Yes.
Good.
Yeah, so we only stayed one night there, so. But it was a nice lady's place, and it was
Very cool.
great
And we
to
have a video of that, do we?
Yeah, we have a video of me smoking a joint in Jasper National Park.
Well, let's play the video.
Where there's no signal.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right.
No signal here. I figured I'd stop at Jasper National Park for a smoke break. So here I am. Let me show you. It's absolutely gorgeous here. Being too bad I can't share it to you with you live, but I wanted to share it with you anyways. Just figured I'd make a quick little video. We're almost to Isabel's Papa's house. We're going to be having dinner there and breakfast tomorrow. Hope you're all having a great long weekend. Little girl and I will be home tomorrow. What was that? You're playing? Okay. She's playing her game in the car. And I'm getting out here and get some sun. I'm really, really tired. You would not believe. Some say doobies make you tired. Well, this one's waking me up. That's good. Got about 3.5 hours to go until we can pull over for the rest of the night. So I just wanted to check in with you guys. Once again, thank you very much, Sterling and Chris and Skyla and Mark. I met you all this time out. Some people have called and said, hey, why didn't you stop by? Well, sorry, we're only there for one day. Well, actually 2 nights and 1 day, because it was a full day there. But we will be back. That's guaranteed. It's just the beginning of the spring right now, so I'm sure we'll be back through. And we'll come and visit you guys real soon. Once again, there's the view. That gorgeous. Oh, let me get a picture of that one. That's a good one. Okay, guys, have a great day. Have a great long weekend. And go out and do something nice today. Cheers.
That looked awesome. Thanks again to Glenn for providing that video and giving us a little taste of what it looks like outside. For those of you who've been stuck indoors for the last 2 months, that's kind of what it's looking like outside. And it looks pretty awesome. I recommend we all get out and have some of that fresh air. So the next segment of the show, of course, is the Martin Medical Moment. And this is where we talk about the fight for medical access and how that's been going through the courts mostly, and through the efforts of people that have been opening up dispensaries. Jerry Martin was a dispensary owner in Whitewood, Saskatchewan. About 7 years ago, opened up a dispensary there and helped people out with access to medical cannabis. He required a doctor's note for a confirmation of diagnosis and tried to adhere strictly to the Health Canada guidelines for such things, even though they didn't allow for medical dispensing, but that had been going on for a long time. Here in Vancouver, about 20 some years ago, we opened the Vancouver Compassion Club, and they came up with a set of protocols for how to deal with patients and provide cannabis that would be in line with what the government wanted. And those were the protocols that Jerry was using in his dispensary, and he was there for about 4 years. And then Health Canada sent him a letter to cease and desist. Well, that was right at the time when there was a whole bunch of dispensaries going on in Vancouver, and they had been licensed by the city of Vancouver. Trudeau had gotten into power from a third-party status to majority government on a platform of legalizing cannabis, and he said that legalizing cannabis would mean that the medical people wouldn't have to worry about it, but that was not true. That was more government lies, and in fact, legalization meant the shutting down of dispensaries, and Jerry's was one of those that the government tried to shut down, but he wouldn't voluntarily shut down because you can't do that as a dispensary owner. I mean, that's really, really illustrated when you're in a small town where you have a membership of about 1,000 people in a town of about 1,000 people, which means that lots of people from other neighboring communities are coming to see you, and everybody with a medical need for miles around is being helped by you, and then the corrupt government comes along and tells you to stop helping people? It's impossible. Couldn't be done. Only a psychopath could do something like that. But that's what they decided he had to do. And when he wouldn't do it, they came and arrested him, seized all of his properties and things, and forced him to shut down helping people. That since has resulted in over 3 years of battling in the courts just to get a court date. Over 40 court appearances in that time, and still no court date to actually get in front of a judge and plead his case and have them, justify theirs. And now we've got a pandemic going on, so it's on hold again. But, we bring Jerry on here once a week. He's good enough to come and tell us about what's going on as we follow his struggles with the justice and injustice system. And, right now the courts are on hold, but Jerry's not, and he's doing a bunch of other good things, and I'm really happy that he comes and joins us in these sessions and tells us what's going on. So, hi Jerry, how you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I've been taking some of those mushrooms that you gave me there to help out with the migraines, and I don't know, I think I'm feeling better.
Yeah, you got to keep on it.
Yeah, and you can say one day, take one day, and then 2 days not take, and then take another one.
Yeah, try that out. I mean, you can always adjust. You just need to take more, right? Because you'll get immune to them otherwise. And plus, you probably don't need to take them every day.
I haven't been.
Yeah.
I took one today, and I guess it's been probably about 3 days since I took the other one.
Yeah, so try and do a regimen, though.
I will.
So when I started microdosing, I wasn't doing that. And I was like, this don't work, right? And it's sticking.
You got to stick with it for a little bit to see if it's going to work. And I mean, the trick for me, if I don't get a migraine, that'll be good. So
yeah. So it seems to work for a lot of people with migraines. So
yeah. So what else is new for you? Nothing court-wise, eh?
No. Well, not that court, anyways.
Okay.
But we are going to push ahead. I just found out like maybe half an hour ago. So we are going to push ahead with the LSD case.
Right.
And we may include other drugs like...
and is this to get a trial? Some sort of...
Yeah. So first we're going to challenge the government.
Okay.
We're going to present evidence from scientists and witnesses.
Nice.
That LSD, maybe psilocin, maybe MDMA, maybe ketamine, maybe mescaline. We don't want to use too many.
I would say all of those would qualify.
Well, it would, but we have to present evidence for all this, and then this poor judge is going to be looking at all these.
And he's got to try them.
So, he's got to try them. That should be part of the case.
That should be part of it. If you're going to judge something.
Yeah.
Come on.
Most likely, definitely psilocin and LSD would be the number one.
Right.
So we're going to challenge the government. They're going to try and get this so that we can... sell it and provide it to people all over Canada to start with.
Right.
Yeah. So
because things have really changed. There's a lot more studies and evidence now than there was back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember when Malmo went against the Crown a long time ago to try to use the no harm principle, and the court said, well, Parliament has the power, it's in the public interest because this is a dangerous drug.
Right.
Well, we're a long ways from there now.
That's right. Yeah.
The dangers have been really proven to be myths, and the values have been proven to be great.
Yeah, extremely great. Yeah,
extremely great.
So so we don't have to go to court right away. It's going to cost about $20,000 or so to petition the government and
is Paul Lewin going to do that for you?
Yeah, we're going to get Paul to do it. Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
We should get him on the show one of these days. I almost did that before the
we did it quickly on the phone, but not by video or anything.
Right. Yeah, and we should do that again.
Yeah.
So
it's about $20,000 or so to petition the government and ask them to do that. Most likely they will deny it for political reasons, if none other.
Well, that wouldn't be surprising.
So then we'll have to go to court, and that's where the more money comes in.
Right.
Probably another $100,000 or so.
That'd be a very interesting court case, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and very timely.
Yeah. So we're gonna push for. So speaking of that, we're looking for witnesses. We need witnesses that LSD, psilocin, especially those two, where these drugs have helped and where no other drugs have.
People with addiction, depression, all kinds of different things, headaches and anxiety.
Yeah, I got a message the other day. Somebody's off their Adderall problem, right? They've been addicted to Adderall for years.
So how do they get a hold of you to provide that information?
You can reach me at info@microdelics.ca.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily looking for Microdelics customers. In fact, we're not looking for Microdelics customers.
You're looking for people who have been profoundly helped.
Yeah, and using actual LSD 25, not analog or something. So they're using actual LSD 25.
Right.
If they don't know and they're using the street version, most likely they're using LSD 25. And same with the mushrooms, that's psilocybin, which is going to convert into psilocin. So if we can convert psilocin, that's the better way to go, because then it opens up all those different products with psilocin and like truffles.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you've had a profound experience and been helped, in major ways with these things, you may be a good candidate to provide your evidence that would help change the world.
Yeah, and both on a microdose and and on a flood dose.
And major dose, flood dose, is that what they call it?
Yeah, well, that's what
I've had a few flood doses.
Yeah.
Not recently.
I wish I could. I just haven't had the time. I did a couple tabs the other day.
Oh, I'm only talking back when I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
Other than mushrooms, I had some
I've
good.
been reading a lot of Ram Dass, and I'm gonna do the 1,000 mics. I did 500 or so a few weeks, about a month ago.
I see.
But I got stuck dealing with all that techie stuff with the tech guy in India. So like 5 hours on this. The code and like,
that's where your trip led you.
Yeah.
You need to get isolated, isolated from technology.
Like, how can you do that?
Exactly.
I can't focus on anything.
It must have been interesting to try to focus on shit.
My brain was like numb. Like literally my head was numb. Even the next day my head was like numb.
So you've heard about scene and setting before, I'm sure.
Well, that's it, yeah. So I learned about that one the other night too.
Yeah, let's get really high and then do a bunch of techie shit. Yeah. Fun exercise. You've been there, done that now.
Well, you got so much time. You got to do what you got to do. You got to work it into your schedule.
Right.
Yeah, that's where I like the DMT though. It's quick, right?
Yeah.
That may be another one too. People that use DMT.
I had my own little profound experience with that one as well. Even salvia. I mean, all of these things are just naturally occurring substances in a world that we are a naturally occurring substance in. Yeah. I mean, I don't get how we ever managed to get to this point where a bunch of public servants get to say, "Oh no, you can't be doing that," Oh no! But I just picked this.
We can.
I just picked this out of a field somewhere. I mean, it looks kind of nice. I want to try it. Well, I know that's going to hurt you. Well, okay.
Yeah, but throw you in jail.
Yeah. Well, that's
instead
the
of
thing.
educating you.
It's the stupidest thing. It's just the stupidest thing. I mean, there's a plant growing there, and there's two people who never met each other. Now they come along, and they're all happy because they haven't seen each other, another human for miles and miles. And good to see you, friend. The one reaches down and grabs the flower there and starts chewing on it. And don't be doing that. That's gonna hurt you. Okay, buddy, settle down. Settle down. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm an adult. Why do you think it's gonna hurt me? I have to call. No, that's gonna hurt you. And he ends up grabbing you and throwing you to the ground there, and
handcuffing you.
Fuck, shooting you in the head eventually because you're gonna hurt yourself.
Families destroyed for generations.
Just insanity that we've come to this point. Things didn't start when our forefathers decided. Let's break away from this system of tyranny that we're in here, and let's go and start a new type of system in a new land, and let's have public servants, and and then let's decide people are free. It should have gotten gradually better from there. But these same evil, greedy corporate forces,
it's those taxes, the new way to get a buck.
Yeah, it's always about greed. It comes down to the bottom of just about everything that's not ever right here.
Yeah, when they brought that in where you could be fined instead of going to prison, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for something.
Seems like
but they just abuse that like everything else, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyhow, what do we got here? My clock, my phone has started to do something silly.
4:44.
I see that. Yeah, we have one more minute in our session. But it used to show the clock on the face, and I've been through the settings, and I can't figure out how to get the clock to show back on the face when it's in dormant mode like that, which used to be good. Now I have to click a button on the back to get it to come on and do that. So, Microdelics, do you want to give people the way to contact that again?
Yeah. So we got new packaging there. So they're
all right.
See them there, not yeah. So we got the LSD Kitna, 4ACO, DMT kit, and we got refills for them both now.
Cool.
Yeah, microdelics.ca, but more importantly is that case. We're in a real rush on that, so if it's helped anybody out there in any way, please contact me right away, and we'd love to chat with you more, and we'll have our lawyers contact you, and maybe
Very
Dr.
cool.
Knowles.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that have good stories that need to be told.
Yeah, for sure. Well, millions and millions of people take it every year, so I know you're out there.
Yeah, I do too. Come and help change the world.
Yeah, help change the world.
Very good, Jerry. Thank you very much. And nothing new on the court case. The other court case.
No,
we'll wait and
apparently
see.
courts are shut down for the V's. So
One of these days they'll give us some content.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, my friend.
All right.
I know it hangs over his head, but maybe it's good to have a little bit of a break from this where he doesn't have to constantly be dealing with different changes and dates and different court shit. So anyway, doing well. It's been quite a battle for quite a long time we've been having here. It's ridiculous. Like it's been the theme of the show today is just how ludicrous and ridiculous this whole idea of prohibition is. And today on the show I have one of my favorite people. Mick Mann has been an activist, a guerrilla grower, an educator, a talk show host, so much more for so long as we've been on this journey together trying to address the ludicrousy of government policy with respect to one of our favorite plants, cannabis. And so without much further ado, really happy to have you on the show, Mick. Thanks for coming out of isolation.
Hey, Neil, well, it's good to be here. Yeah,
I see you haven't tried to cut your own hair like I did yesterday.
No, it's my COVID hair. I haven't.
It's a COVID cut.
This is the COVID.
Hey, you could actually right now with the hat on, you could probably just do a little,
Oh yeah, clean it up. Yeah. I was actually thinking of ordering one of the Flobies. Remember the old vacuum with the thing?
Oh yeah. And Jerry Martin was telling me about some sort of comb thing that cuts as you go.
I
And
fresh before I came.
there you go.
The Remington.
Actually, though, I was walking up to the store in my neighborhood today, and the guy who I usually get to cut my hair, I saw it was cutting hair.
Ah,
So he's got a mask, but there's a guy, so and it's cheap. It's like
Could
15
happen.
bucks. It does. So I'm like, you know what? I probably sometime this week, I think I'll stop in. I'll go buy it.
you got the beard going on again. Not anywhere near what you used to have, but it's a start.
No. We're kind of keeping it sort of.
Back when I first met you, when your hair was way down below your shoulders and your beard was big, and
I was
it was
a bush
awesome.
monkey. I was like, I spent a lot of time in the bush, and
that was, oh man, almost 20 years ago, I think.
yeah, it's a long time ago, Neil.
Although we're older than that. Where were you born, Mick?
When?
Where?
Oh, Toronto.
Born in Toronto. How long did you live there?
Well, I spent my first part of my life in Toronto till I was like 12, 13, and then I went to school in the States, outside around near Philadelphia.
I see.
I was there till I was
Your
about-
parents had moved down there at that time?
No, I
No?
went to a boarding school.
Oh, I see.
And then, when did I go from there? Oh, and I moved back to Toronto. I was at 16, and at 18, I moved out west.
I see.
And I sort of been out west here, floating around ever since. Originally moved to a small town in the interior in the East Kootenays, Kimberley,
Right.
BC.
Okay.
And then I spent a couple of years in Calgary.
So that's when you're 16, did you say you came here? Or 18?
18. No,
18
yeah.
you come here and you live in Kimberley. You're smoking weed by that time.
Oh, yeah, I started smoking weed at 13.
13. Then so they put you in a boarding school for that.
Actually, no, that's where I started smoking.
That's where you started
Yeah,
smoking.
that's literally, that's where I started smoking.
And how
weed.
did that work for you? Was it a good thing in your life?
It was funny. And I remember it to this day, like it was just yesterday, that when I had my first toke, when I got high, I was like, holy shit. I realized then and there, I said, this is for me.
Yeah,
This is
I had
what
that same feeling.
This is where it's at. I says,
Yeah.
at that moment, I said, I could never see ever giving this up.
That's how I felt. Exactly
It was
that.
like-
I didn't know you had that same experience as
Oh,
me.
yeah.
That's how I felt that very first time I got high. I
It was
went,
just
I
like-
want this in my life for my whole life.
This is what it's missing. This is what's missing out of my life.
Yeah.
Like I felt I had direction, and it's kind of funny because I was probably like 14 or 15, and then the first pot book I read. Well, no, the first pot book I read was The Child's Garden of Grass, which was kind of
Right.
a joke. But the first grow book I got my hands on then was Grow Your Own Stone,
Of course, yeah, me too.
and that was it. I was set. I was like, that's
So when did
my
you start
direction.
growing?
I started. Well, I put some seeds in the ground when I was like 16. not much came in them because I didn't know what I was doing.
And you're in Ontario.
Yeah, in on horrible.
In on horrible when it comes to growing outdoors.
But I guess it was after I moved out to BC, and I was probably in my early 20s. I was living in the East Kootenays, and I ran into some people that kind of showed me a little bit more how.
Probably
to do
hard
things.
to not start growing if you're living in the Kootenays, right?
Well, that was it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you run into people, and I was
Yeah.
keen to learn. So these guys, well, we'll show them a few things, and I did well. So people were like, "Oh, okay, well, you're obviously have a keen interest." So that's what it really boiled down. It was
Right. And were you guerrilla growing at that time, or were you growing in your...
shortly thereafter, not long. Well, then I moved to the coast, and I went to the island,
Right?
and then I went hardcore guerrilla.
Yeah. Eh?
Yeah. Well, I went out to the beach. We were squatting on the beach with a whole bunch of... See, you got to remember, this is where BC skunk came from. There's a place called Sombrio Beach up on Vancouver Island, up on the west coast. And back when all the American draft dodgers were coming up here from California, a lot of them came up here. They brought their genetics with them.
Right.
And they were hiding out, squatting with a bunch of the rest of us squatters up and down the coast of Vancouver Island.
Nice.
Because good living up there.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize is, I think it's like 90 feet or a certain amount of yards up from the highest high tide line can't be developed, and you can squat on Crown land. You just can't build with a permanent structure. Or
Right.
you can't put in a foundation. So people were throwing up cabins, whatever washes up, driftwood, all kinds of things would come up, right?
Nice.
And, you bring down a little tin airtight wood stove, what they call the old hippie killers in the day, and slap one of those. I mean, you live down there quite comfortably.
Nice.
Tarps and driftwood and cabins.
And growing some weed.
Well, of course, yeah. That's what we did was because they had logged all the hillsides and then replanted. So a lot of us all just went up in the hills and planted weed in the cut blocks.
So early crops had some problems, probably. I'm just guessing.
Well,
But you learned some lessons about animals. And...
every season was a lesson.
Right.
There was probably, in 10 years of growing guerrilla, there's probably only 2 years where we were like, woohoo! We were like, oh,
Yeah.
The
It
rest of
worked
the
like
time
it was supposed
to.
to.
And more often than not, it was the weather. It
Right.
was the way. We're sitting around going, oh, God, I hope we get another couple weeks of sunshine. I hope it doesn't start raining, towards the end of September, going in October. And it was
Right.
always, oh, no, here comes, the West
Now
Coast.
you gotta get
the
up
West
there.
Coast rains. That's it. You're
And
done.
you got to get up there and get it, or the mold's going to set in and other things,
and it's
right?
not finished.
Right.
So, unfortunately, it wasn't until way late. I wish I had learned this early in my guerrilla career because we would have done much better.
Right.
Was guys that just take their outdoor crops, the whole 9 yards, take everything, throw it into the big mixer, and turn it into bubble hash.
I see.
The whole 9 yards.
Right.
Absolutely. There's no trimming, nothing.
Right.
Just dry it and turn it into hash.
Nice.
And I mean, I saw a video of some guys that did, oh God, there had to be over 100 pounds of weed that, they grew just outdoors. They just grew a bunch of shit in the field.
Right.
And they did exactly that. They mixed it up. And I went to Mark's house actually to watch this video.
What process do you recommend for making hash out of your weed in that case? Do you use ice or do you use butane?
They did bubble, ice water.
Nice.
But what they did was they mixed it up in a 45-gallon drum, and they did it in a barn. So they had access to a crane, a come-along, a lift.
Okay.
So they had chains. So they mixed it up in this drum, and then they built a box, like 4 foot by 4 foot, and then lined it with the mesh, with screens, right? The heavy screen. Just one, I don't know what the micron was, but one screen. And after they done mixing, they just lifted that thing up, dumped the whole thing into that box, where it was off the floor, so it just drained out onto the floor, down into the drains in the barn, and they let it sit. And the next morning they went in, and the thing was this thick in hash.
Wow.
Like they pulled out pounds and pounds of bubble hash out of this thing.
What a way to
Whatever
do it.
the grade was, it's just all mixed together. But it was good.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they just flogged that.
Yeah.
And I went, Oh God, that's the way to deal with your outdoor crops.
Yeah,
like
eh?
smart.
Yeah.
But we didn't know this back in the day. That would have solved a lot of problems.
Right.
Yeah.
What else did you learn, guerrilla gardening? How do you protect from the deer and the
Well, the
rabbits?
stealth shit I learned was just crazy. Like I've learned how to be the sneakiest son of a bitch ever.
Yeah. Did you have people find your crops?
People always find stuff. People wander to the stupidest places, and you got to remember too. So when I got really into hardcore guerrilla, it's a year-round thing, and people would say like, oh, where are you going? I go, oh, I'm going out to deal with crops, and they go, it's fucking November. Where the fuck crops do you got going on? I go, I'm scouting location.
Right.
Now the cool thing is, in the wintertime, is all the bush, all the blackberries, got some snow and crap on it. It's all down here.
Yeah.
And you can walk clear through the bush.
Right.
And you can see long distances. Right? Makes it a lot easier to haul in your bales of sunshine mix or your pro mix, slide them in on the snow, stash all that stuff out. You come back.
Because it's a lot of work.
You come back.
It's a
in
lot
the
of work
spring,
doing what you're
and
talking about.
There's no trail because everything's grown up now. There's no trail.
Right.
So you're not going to leave a trail going into the bush to go and do your work.
Yeah.
Also,
So do you do it near a creek?
We found something called urea, which is like 50-50-50 on the fertilizer scale.
Right.
It's basically dried horse piss. Buy it in a big 50-pound bag.
I see.
And you go in, so in the like early spring when you're going in and doing work, you can't help but leave trails. So close to the road area where you're going in the bush, you sprinkle that stuff all over anywhere you figure there's a bit of a trail. 3 weeks later, the bush is like up to here. There's no trail. People, if you're walking by, you go, well, fuck, I'd like to go in the bush, but I'm not going to.
Pretty dense in there.
I'm not getting in there. I'll find another way. I'll have to go find another way in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
So
Encourage
we learned
growth
some
of
tricks. We learned a few tricks. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. What else you got up your sleeve for guerrilla growing? Like what else happens out there in the wilds? Because it's a lot of work. Like pulling in all that. I mean, what about water? Do you grow near creeks to get water to it, or what do you do?
This is another huge issue. Water's a big one.
Yeah.
This also comes scouting. So even when you're not in the summer, when you're not dealing with your stuff, I would go hiking in the bush and look for places. Google Images, Google Earth makes things a lot easier.
I see.
So I used a lot of Google Earth to find places that look potentially good. Figure how to get in there. Where's the closest roads? Things like that.
Right.
And then pack a picnic lunch and go for a walk one day. And go out looking like a hiker. Don't look like a grower.
Right.
Because you're just looking at spots.
Yeah.
But I can tell you one thing. I have gone into some of the most greatest spots, like hard to get in, and thought, this is perfect. And then I see an empty cigarette pack. It's probably been there maybe a year or two, who knows, or a pop can or a beer can.
But somebody else has been in there.
Someone's been there.
Yeah.
Trust me, if you're not the first person to step foot on this piece of land, although sometimes it feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like the island, it's Vancouver Island, it's an island.
Have you grown in any obvious spots that, like, right beside a billboard in the middle
Absolutely.
of, coming into the city
One
or something?
plant in the oddest place, believe it has. Well, the best thing is though, that works only if you don't look at it or go anywhere near it for the rest that you can't. You're not.
Right.
You can't. If you're
Just out of the corner of your eye when you're driving by, that's about it.
Don't look
Yeah.
over there. Look over here. Yeah. Actually, as you're going by, point to something on the other side. As you're, just to get over. What's he looking at over there? Everybody's eyes look over that way. Yeah.
And then one day it's gone.
And usually, exactly. By it's somebody. It's getting good, and someone will go, "Hey."
So when I met you, you were a hardcore activist, a cannabis culture, guy running around. In fact, running for the BC Marijuana Party, I think, is one of our earlier meetings together.
Twice, and once federally.
I mean, I'd met you before that, but I really got to know you quite a bit during the campaign there. And you helped me a lot because I ran for the party that year too. And I remember, being very nervous. I was not a public speaker. I mean, I was good talking on people one-on-one, but I always got very nervous in front of talking to people or when a camera was in my face or anything like that. I had my epiphany where, I was just helping out to build the herb school. And then during that renovation, that long weekend side job for me, I learned the truth about prohibition and was so upset by it. I had to quit my job and decided to do something. and then running the herb school for a while and cramming and learning as best I could from David and whatever. And now it's like, you got to run for the party. I'm like, oh, give me a break. I mean, I already decided, that's the last thing I'm ever going to do in my life is run as a politician. And they're like, no, you really need to run for us. We want to put a person in every riding, and you're somebody that needs to do that. Well, oh man, I was not really okay with that, but I kind of understood and I agreed that was something I needed to do to follow what was my new goal in life, which was to try to help end the prohibition of cannabis. So there we were at the art gallery having our first press conference, and we were going to stand in front of the cameras and do 5 minutes.
That was at 420.
Was it at 420? We were announcing that? Yeah, probably it was. Yeah, I think that's right.
In 2001, you can look it up.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The very first day that you could campaign for that election fell on 420.
Yep.
So while all the other political parties, like the Liberals and the Socreds, or the NDP, they were all having their election kickoff, at their different locations.
Yeah.
The BC Marijuana Party was out at the art gallery rocking out 420.
Yes.
And was just one activist after, and there was candidates were coming up, all these people who were stood like us, who stood for candidacy. We were going up and
the media was there and they had their cameras set up, and one by one we were getting to stand. So I remember saying to you about how nervous I was about this, and you said to me, "This is not about you. This is about the message, and we got to get the message out." And man, that just did it for me, because I had learned things that I needed to get people to understand.
You knew
and
what you're talking
that was
about.
my opportunity, and you really nailed it for me about the fact that this wasn't about me standing there worried about whether my hair was right or what. It was about, I got some information, we're going to get it out there, and here's my shot. I thank you very much for that, because
Neil, it was like, I got asked during that election by a reporter if I thought I had a chance of winning. And my answer to him was, "Are you fucking nuts?"
It wasn't about winning.
Crazy. I says, and then he's like, "Oh, good, because you're not nuts." I go, "No." I says, "We're not doing this to get elected.
We know that can't happen.
That's not our job. We're doing this because now we have to talk. We get to talk about our cannabis and the injustice." I says, and Mark Emery actually made a good point at one of the things after the election. We got together at the picnic we went on, the group, afterwards. And he pointed out that he said for something like, I forget what it was something like over 300 days in a row that some major publication in Canada, a newspaper publication, had a story about marijuana. And it was in the paper every single day. You couldn't avoid it. Marijuana.
But in positive stories, because back in those days, getting a positive story or any comments was very hard to do.
Or it was unbiased, if nothing else. At least it was both sides. They were showing both sides. They were showing the police, and then they would take, an activist.
Well, and even back then, they would put it side by side. They'd have a bad story along with the good ones, but at least we got some good press. And that is what it was all about. We got to go to public forums.
Because I remember I was the media whore, because I was legally growing back then, so I had like large amounts of cannabis. I'd be which back then, to see someone show up in public and pull out this much weed was like, oh my God. Yeah. And it was great. So I used to carry like a big Tupperware thing full of weed, like at least a quarter pound, half a pound, probably, give or take. And as soon as I saw the media, that was my cue. I'd pull out my tub and open it. And all the cameras are,
they want to see that.
Yeah, can I get your name? Yeah. And I just kept doing that. And it was so easy.
Yeah.
So easy.
Because
that's
typically
all you had to do was open up a big whack. It wasn't so much not a smoke pot. There'd be someone smoking. They'd all be on there. I'd pull out my big bucket, and they'd be like, "Oh fuck, let's go see that guy."
Yeah. And this is what, like typically at a 420 or something like that, when there would be some media around, and you could do that.
I started doing that on the island before I even came over here.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like.
Would you go to a press conference?
No, we were doing protests.
Okay, like, so you had a protest and the media comes.
Ted Smith would have one of his protest things, like we'd be up at the University of Victoria or it'd be the library handing out cookies or,
Yep.
And because I was legal, so I'd show up and I'll just stand around here with as much marijuana as possible Because that's definitely, everyone's, holy fuck, look at all the weed that guy's got. What are you doing with all that? It's my personal.
Yeah.
I'm a medical vacation. You know, fuck off. That was what it was. It was just, we played it to the hilt.
Yeah,
It
we
was
had some fun.
Yeah, we had great fun. We played it hard because nobody knew and they were all curious. And now it's the other way around. Now they're all trying to tell us what's going on.
I know, eh?
Yeah, all of us have been in this game for like forever. But you
Yeah,
know,
it's changed a lot since those days, man. Oh,
I
man.
gotta say this, and I'm glad you brought me in because I want to say it real clear to everyone out there. Told you so. Everything that was said was going to happen with the LPs. I fucking told you so.
Yeah.
Every fucking thing. I have said this for years. I've been saying this long before.
Yeah.
Told you so. Fuck off. I fucking told everybody.
So what's going to happen now? What's going to happen with this whole legalization mess that they've got?
Well, that's interesting. I think the LPs will still be around. I mean, it's hilarious to see what's going on with Canopy. They're just fucking crumbling. That's fucking hysterical.
Aurora too. I mean,
Aurora, all these guys. And it's exactly what I said. A few people will make a shitload of money, and a lot of people are going to go broke.
Yeah.
But called it. Told you so.
Yeah. But where do we go from here? I mean, they can't sustain this the way it
Here's
is.
what's going to happen. They're going to... Obviously, lots of us are still, getting marijuana from all kinds of other sources.
The growers are still growing.
Other than the systems. Okay,
the growers are still growing.
Problem. There's lots of... I think there's also, we know people ourselves that personally, like, that are, doing things like, there's Kirk and them guys that got plans. There's Redbeard's got his plan, a lot of people we know who are doing stuff. Remo, I mean, what's going to happen is that I think the regulations are end up going to just get weaker. It all depends on who gets elected next. If the Conservatives get in, it's any guess what happens. But I see as things progress with and I think too there'll be more legal challenges.
That's what I was going to say next, is that it'll be going back to the courts.
Yeah, it'll go back to the courts. The regulations are what they are. I think it won't be hard for people to show how some of the regulations are like, I don't know, over the top, a little bit too restrictive. And not only that, I think the government's going to want to open it up because it's not working and it's obvious. The press, here's what also the press is going to shift and start, oh, this is fucking ridiculous. How did you have this big program and all this money and all these players and it all went to the toilet? That's not really something to... So either you fix it or you wear it. And the government... So the onus is on the government to fix it. They have to, because it makes them look fucking stupid if they don't. They look like morons. They fail
they're going to have to do something.
So they've at least if nothing else, they got a promise to try to fix it. I mean, I have no faith in the fact they're ever getting anything done right.
Well, yeah, they promise all the
So
time.
what'll
But I think they're
happen
going to
is-
be forced by the courts because
But you'll have the smaller one. You asked what'll happen. Us little guys are slowly going to transition in, and only if we can do it our way.
But can they get away with continuing to penalize people the way that they want to? I mean, treating anything to do with it as a criminal offense is preposterous at this point. Yet they're continuing to do that.
Yeah, but
increased penalties. The Edmonton police are now seizing cannabis online distribution websites.
Oh,
they're threatening
I have a comment about that.
$50,000 fines to up to 14 years in prison. I mean, how do they justify any of that?
If you're going to have an online site, do not use .ca.
Yes, don't use .ca.
Do not use .ca, whatever you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of people who they're going down.
But there's no guarantee that the other dots aren't going to also be taken down. I mean, it's just outrageous that they're wasting tax dollars and punishing people the way that they are. I suspect there's going to be some serious court challenges to these penalties that they're going to give people for simply supplying a herb that just like the government's doing, only better than the government's doing it. Where is there any justification to harm people the way that they have been? Like, it's just, did you ever suffer any like, did they ever catch you? Did you ever get a fine or a penalty for growing weed or anything like that over your career?
I've never been caught growing.
Cool.
Because I'm a professional. But yeah, I've had possession charges when I was young. I had my first possession charge when I was 13. Yeah, actually.
What came of that one?
A fine, and I actually had to give $50 to a charity of my choice.
I got fined for alcohol when I was
and I had
14
to mail
or
the
15.
I had to mail the receipt to the court.
See?
Yeah, that was. I remember that distinctly.
Did you ever put you in a cell for overnight or anything?
Oh yeah, I've done jail time, but not for weed.
Oh, okay. I meant for weed.
For fucking weed, no.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like you say, touch wood, that should
but I've
never
had
happen.
a couple.
And you never should. I mean, where has there ever been a victim in any of this? I mean, holy shit,
I got a positive bust story.
Okay.
I was in Victoria, and at the time I was living outdoors, living on the streets, right? Just, crashing at my buddy's place, shit like that. And I was downtown, and at this point, weed was pretty open everywhere. And, the Vicks was open, Ted had his club going. So I'm downtown, and I'm smoking a pipe. And I see the cops coming. I'm just keep smoking my pipe. And all I had was the bowl. So I finished smoking the bowl. And they come up to me, and they say, oh, well, what do you got anymore on your blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, the guy looks in my bag. And the one rookie cop says, oh, well, you're under arrest. His buddy standing beside him is like, gives me the look like, oh, God. But this guy's determined, no, you're under arrest for paraphernalia. I'm like, are you serious? I thought he's joking. I'm like, are you serious? I look at the other guy, is he for real?
You
And
got
his buddy's like, the other cop's like, turn around, please. Oh, fuck, I can't believe you're doing this. All right. So I get into court. And this all comes up, and they're going on, and the judge is like, and finally I'm like, Your Honor, I said, this is about a pipe. What? Judge is like, what? Looks at the crowd, he goes, I never want to see this guy in my courtroom again. Case dismissed, get the fuck out.
Nice.
It was literally, I was like, what the hell? I was just like, look at turned out I saw the other cop, the older cop, like sometime later. And he actually came up to me one day and he goes, I'm really sorry about that. That guy, he's since been told and explained to that,
But I mean, even this, it's just a jar with some dried flower tops in it. Like,
cellulose, man, that's just cellulose.
It's just insanity that they think that, that could have gasoline in it. And there might be some minor, small fine, or probably just a warning about don't put gasoline in glass.
Yeah.
But other than that,
you don't have to drink to have fun with alcohol. You just put a rag in a bottle. Yeah.
And you don't have to use gasoline for putting in your lawnmower. You can snort that shit. You can probably drink that shit if you want. It's dangerous as hell, but it's not a crime. And they don't have the police all running around worried about people with gasoline, but they're worried about people with dried flower tops. It's been the craziest fucking thing since like forever until now, this coronavirus. And it might be just about as crazy.
I grew 3 plants.
No, it's not as crazy.
3 plants in a tent. Well, not even 4, 3.
Yeah.
Because I had males, I had to get rid of them. I only had 3. And I got 2 jars like 3 jars like this.
Nice.
And plus, I've made up a nice run of bubble hash in the 5-gallon bags.
Nice.
And I've got another small whack that I'm going to be doing a dry sift with.
Right.
So not bad for 3 plants.
Not bad.
So for a couple $1,000, you can get set up pretty decent to grow your 4 legal plants. And when you're using a tent, no one's going to be able to see them. That gets around that law here. That's stupid. Can't see your plants in BC law. No, but that way if someone comes in your house that's in a tent, can't see them. Unless you show them to them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the cops came to your door for you unpaid tickets for parking. He looks in. You can't see anything. It's a black tent.
Yeah.
There's nothing. What's in it is none of your concern. And if he does look, 4 plants, it's legal. Fucking get the hell out of my house.
I recommend more than 4, but that's just me. And that's not for everybody. But
well, if I had...
those that can overgrow the government, damn it.
Well, when I crack 12 beans...
Yeah.
If I get 8 females, I'm not going to get rid of 4. I'm going to grow them all out.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just going to put them in some smaller pots and put them in around so they'll be smaller plants, but they're still going to mature. And like I say, if nobody knows, you don't get any complaints. So,
well, hopefully we're going to not live in a world with a bunch of enforcement idiots running around looking in people's homes and counting how many medicinal herbal plants you have. We got to stop this nonsense.
They're not coming around to people. The only time they're coming to people's homes is if someone calls. Yeah. So if nobody sees and nobody smells...
Or nobody cares...
Then, well, even
if
they care...
What would you care for?
But you know something? I don't know about you, but I've lived in over probably a dozen different buildings in BC in 20 years that had strata.
Right?
Okay, there is always one moron
I've never
asshole
done that,
in
by the way.
every complex has
Yeah.
one at
Yeah,
least.
at least.
And if they get wind of it, they will make your life miserable. So the trick is going back to the old days, the stealth days. If you're going to grow, at least you don't have to worry about the cops kicking your place in because of high hydro use. You pay your hydro bill. You keep, there's no smell. None of your neighbors know you're growing pot.
What do you
Guess
do
what?
about
you
the
grow
smell?
pot.
What do you do about the smell, by the way?
I use a carbon filter. I bought a big carbon filter that I mean, I know how to match up this, that, and everything else. So the fan I'm using, I bought a stealth fan, so it's, a little quieter.
Right.
And I bought a big filter, a little more higher rated than the fan I'm using, so I'm not.
And that's why you say $1,000, couple $1,000, to set up a good system for growing your plants.
And I mean, and I got stuff like good deals, like I use in the auto pot system. I got that from Johnny B. Mm-hmm. Right, a couple $100 here. I bought a tent on Amazon, like a budget tent, like the Viso Sun, which aren't as like the guerilla tents that are a lot of money, but they're high quality. But the small tent's just fine if you're not going to be tearing it down and putting it back up a lot. That's all you need. You just leave it set up. You put it up once and just leave it set up. If you're going to be moving it around, taking it down, you need a guerilla tent, or they're just going to get little holes in it when you fold them up and stuff. You can't help it. They wear out.
Right. So you're a different sort of a grower. Like most growers, they keep into the shadows and you don't see or hear much about them, and you don't ever get to really know anything but their first name. But you're out there, you're an activist. How the hell did that happen? I mean, Ted
legal.
Smith and is that what it was? You got your license?
I was one of the first 500 people in Canada to have a permit to, and it said right on it, grow, use, and possess marijuana for medical purposes. I have my original exemption 56.
I see.
And at the time, so
not so unusual then, because I know other growers as well that got legal and then they decided they could put their voice out there and put their name out there. Yeah. That's true. I didn't realize you were in that category.
Oh yeah, that was my thing. But I had been.
Well, you weren't legal.
I was growing pretty hardcore. I was doing like a 6 or 7 light show, 1,000 waters.
And up in the hills probably every year too.
I was not legal.
And up in the hills, something going on every year too, probably.
No,
still.
I had moved indoors at this point. I was focused on those big lights.
Right.
And
the Burmese, right?
And I was just getting into the Burmese at that point. I was doing some sticky bud that was like the Burmese, and that was the end of that. But so we got in there, and I was like, oh shit. Then what's his name opened up the VIX, Vancouver Island Compassion Society. Philippe Lucas, thank you. Yeah. So I went down to Philippe's one day and I said, hey, listen, I got some weed. I'd be willing to, sell it to you guys at a discount. Would you be willing to back me up in court if I ever go to court and show that it was for compassionate reasons? And they said, yeah, sure. Nice. So perfect. So I flogged them some weed. And they really liked it. And then the medical thing came up. The exemption 56 came out. Right. So I ran down to my doctor and I says, sure. And he looked at it and he goes, sure, I'll sign that off.
Nice. You had a good doctor.
Yeah. I had a good doctor and a good rapport with my doctor.
Yeah.
But in fact, that was the exemption 56. It was one piece of paper. That was it. It was like, that's why they got rid of that.
Yeah.
See, they brought that out thinking, oh, no one's going to apply. Well, they'll say everybody applied. They said, oh, we better make this tougher.
Yeah.
And they changed the MMAR. But so anyhow, I got in right away. And it was like, oh, fuck, jail. Get out of jail free card. So, yeah, and any press, media. And then, of course, I think it was not even within that year is when the BCMP started.
I see.
So it was like, oh, I'm the perfect candidate. I'm legal. I'm running for political office, and I'm probably the only one who's, wants to be an MLA who's got to grow in his basement. It was legally grown weed. I thought that was just,
Yeah, it's a nice hook.
Oh yeah, I thought it was perfect. I was writing like Rick Mercer. I was writing the Letterman show. I was fucking mailing letters to all these people. You guys, this is a cool story. Come on out, check this. Right? Yeah, no bites, but I was emailing. I was writing letters to all those people.
Right, you're having some fun.
Fuck yeah.
Are you mad about prohibition? Like at the time too, does that fuel what?
I used to be mad, but I'm retired kind of, sort of now. And because getting mad doesn't really do anything, it's like I'm just out to have a good time. I'm out
But
to
you're still
enjoy
throwing
myself.
you're still having a good time throwing the wrench into the gears of the system and
Oh
things that
yeah,
aren't right.
like I'm an incorrigible prick.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Can't
And
stop that.
well, it's not only that too. It's like these guys have fucked with us for so long. It's like I really don't care. It's justified. Do whatever. But I just go ahead and do what I please and don't give a damn. I'm not, like you spoke earlier, I'm not hurting anybody. Just try to be respectful of other people. I try to also look, but at the same time, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And which is usually good stuff. Like I'm not out to do bad. Try to
Well,
be.
sometimes
be a
you just
good
want to do
guy.
what you're not supposed to do because telling you you're not supposed to do something is fucking ludicrous. Like
Well, if somebody says
we
you're
have done
not-
some things that weren't legal because we only did them because they weren't legal. But fuck you for saying we can't do shit. We now we want to do it. I'm not even sure I thought about it before, but there's
Well,
some of
yeah.
that drives you and me. I know that's
There's
true
a lot
too.
of times people say, "Yo, you can't do it." I go, "Look, want to bet?
Yeah, exactly. No.
How much you willing to put money on that?"
That's right. There's a little bit of Michael Jordan in us, I think. A little bit of competitive spirit and a little bit of give me an excuse to
Well, there's got to
to
be
bury you.
You got to have a good reason. I'm not going to blindly follow rules that
Exactly.
you're just pulling out of your ass for no good reason.
That's right.
Okay, if there's
And if it's a greedy reason, then I'm even more about to do something about it. Like if I can see there's some corruption going on, then I really get pissed off about it. Sometimes it's just stupidity, but sometimes somebody's making a buck off of this thing that's hurting me and hurting other people.
There's never anything wrong
like
with
that.
balancing the odds, balancing the table.
I think I got that from the movies, They got the bad guy that's doing the harmful to the more he hurts the innocent guy, the more you want to hurt the bad guy and stuff. I've never liked bullies. I don't know why, but I sort of grew up with that chip on my shoulder that, in school when there was a bully that was picking on the smaller kids, I'd do something about it because I wasn't happy with it. I was one of the smaller ones myself. I'm not big by any means. But I had that feistiness, and I always had that going on.
I'm not a member, but I support because I can't join for other criminal records because they're real sticky. But there's an organization that I support called BACA, which is Bikers Against Child Abuse. Mm-hmm. So members, they all have like their nicknames and that's all, and they're like just black leather bikers. And if they find like a kid in school is being bullied, for instance, they'll go to the school and like bring him like t-shirts and hats, but make a big deal in front of all his friends.
Right.
You're friends with all those bikers. Yeah, you're our special friend. You got any problems? Call us. They all hand them out their phone numbers and shit, right? That's the end of it. Nobody fucks with the kid anymore. Now they all want to be his buddy. He's a cool kid now. You follow?
And it's not cool to be a bully.
No, but that's a really good
yeah,
organization
I like
that I support those guys.
I
They
like
were
that
having
too.
a ride last Saturday, or Saturday just passed, but I couldn't go. But yeah, it was. So I've supported those guys.
Yeah, and
I can't join.
I hate to say it, I love my dad, but he was a bit of a bully, and I think maybe that's where I got that from. You mentioned being a boarding school at 13. How were your parents? I mean, how was your life growing up, if I can ask?
My life was great.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good. I used to go to I went to summer camp every year as a kid, like for 8
Right.
weeks, boarding camp, slept out.
What kind of job did your dad have?
My dad's in real estate.
Okay.
So it was
Brothers
great.
and sisters?
I got a younger sister.
Okay.
And I have
Is she out here as well?
no, they're in Toronto.
In Toronto, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
they're in Toronto. Got 5 nephews and nieces.
I see. That's nice. That's fun.
I was back there last year for my eldest nephew's wedding.
Good
That was
excuse to
cool.
go for a motorcycle ride.
No, I flew.
You flew back.
I'm riding back there again. If I'm riding back there, it's too long. I can't guarantee what day I'll show up, and it's and then it's like, well, I'm already this far. I'm going to the East Coast.
You've done a lot of driving around on a motorcycle.
I've done that. I keep a log. I just passed over 80,000 kilometers on the bike I've got now that I've ridden. since, when did I pick up that bike? In 2016.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
No.
You just
I do, but I don't really do much of YouTube.
because you've made a number of videos, out on your bike and other stuff like that. Would you just post them through Cannabis Culture or Facebook?
I put them up on my YouTube or sometimes my Facebook page, but mostly I'm doing the photography thing now, not so much the video. I'm more into the photos. I bought some new camera equipment. I bought a really nice Nikon and some cool lenses.
And I saw you were doing some instructional videos on growing and things like that.
Working with Cannabis Culture to do those, get those finished. Yeah, just the simple way to set up your 4 legal plants. Simple.
You've had a lot of different shows and stuff on Cannabis Culture. What was the first one that you did?
Oh God, what was I started recording a show on videotape.
See?
Okay, that I would send to Greg,
Right?
and he would somehow change it over to make it digital and put them up on Pot TV. That was called The Sunday Show.
Right.
And I was that was like 2005.
And what's your favorite one, or favorite thing that you've done along those lines? I mean, the 420 lifestyle was yours. You started that. Carly Marty's taking it over.
Lifestyle show. But actually, the most fun I had doing stuff was with Tracy Curley, bless her, and on the stage at Vapor Central. Doing the live stage in the lounge was the best. That was fun. It was, and the next most fun thing I had was running for the federal election for the Marijuana Party of Canada. That was hysterical.
Nice.
That was fun. That was a lot.
And you've done a lot of cannabis competitions, like cannabis cups and things like
I've
that.
entered a few of them. Yeah, I've attended a shit ton, but I've won
guest
a couple.
speaker and other things. You had a game show going for at one of them. That was kind of cool for that one. At Jeff's
the Mom's Cup there at Jeff's.
Yeah, cool stuff. So what's the future?
Well, next in less than, God, I think it's only like 30 days or something, or less. Who knows? I'm expecting a second grandchild.
Oh.
So that's exciting.
Is that back east?
No, she's in the Okanagan.
Okay.
Near Vernon. So I'm going to be heading out there soon.
Second grandchild. So this is your daughter? Or
my daughter, yeah, my daughter. I have a 3.5-year-old granddaughter and then another grandchild coming. So.
And you just have the one daughter?
Yeah.
I see. Very cool.
And so that I'm doing my 1,000-mile cannonball.
1,000-mile cannonball? A cannonball run? Like the movie?
It's a cannonball. Well, it's sort of like that. It's
cannonball?
A cannonball is a...
Canna or cannon?
Cannon. As
Cannon.
in like boom. Cannon. Cannonball, just like the movie.
Yeah, okay.
So I've done a 250-mile. I've done a 500-mile. And the 1,000 miles, it's a certain route you follow.
Right.
And it's not a race. You're just doing it on your own. But there's a time limit. So the start, finish, and you have X amount of hours to do that. So 1,000 miles in 36 hours or less.
Whoa. That's why they call it a cannonball run.
Yeah. Like the 500
Not doing a lot of
the
sightseeing.
500 mile was 12 hours. I did it in 11 hours and 11 minutes. Because I was using a tracker app.
Right.
Yeah. And that's not like, you're just going.
Yeah, you're not a lot of sightseeing.
No, like the first day, like each day of the 1,000, they're like 800-kilometer days.
Right.
Like
scenic routes, I would imagine, though.
Oh, they take you on the greatest roads. Yeah, that's the whole idea.
Right.
But because you're on a cannonball, you're like, I'll have to come back. Because you can't stop, otherwise you're not going to get your time in, right? You're going to blow the time.
But it's not a race.
So you're like, God, I want to stop and take pictures. I want to come. But you find places to go back and explore, take trips to.
So that's kind of the point, is you get to see places you want to go back to another time later when you've got more time.
There are people who design...
What's the point of going so far so fast?
Well, if
it's not a race.
It's just a type of a sport. It's endurance motorcycle riding is actually a big sport. Right. There's a large...
So your time does matter.
Oh, yeah. There's a large group called the Iron Butt Society. And they do iron butt rides. Now, an iron butt, 1,000-mile iron butt, they only give you 24 hours.
And is the iron butt on the bike or on the human?
No, it's on the... Yeah, it's...
Do they consider the humans to have iron butts to be able to do it, or is it a different type of seat that you're sitting on?
If you can pull it off, you've probably got an iron ass.
Because it's not a very comfortable seat.
Well, it's not the seat. It's just that spending that much time that quickly on a motorcycle is very difficult. Like, it's very hard on the body. It's a lot of people. You cramp up. You get numb from the vibrations. You can get sores, like bed style sores or vibration sores.
I see.
Oh yeah, lots of things. It's not as easy as you think.
Yeah, I've never actually really thought about it. I've ridden motorcycles a little bit, but never long rides.
Yeah, well, this is it. So basically, if I am traveling, like say, across Canada, and the first day I ride, I stop, gas, get back on the bike and go, gas and go, gas and go. After 3 days of that, I can tell you right now, on the fourth day, I'll be lucky to get in 50 miles. I'll be wanting off of that bike. I won't want to be anywhere near that bike. I will be so sore and tired and beat up.
I see.
So long distance, and you can go and find us all on the internet and read up on long distance motorcycle travel. Tons of videos.
I see.
Called rider management. So what I did on my trip, because I was gone 56 days.
Wow.
So I would go, I gas up, I push the bike or push it over to the side, get out of the way. I maybe go in the store and get something to eat, a water, take a little walk around, do some stretches. I take 10, 20 minutes by the clock, not just what I think. I look at the time, make sure, it's only been 5 minutes. Oh, no, well, wait, I got another 10, 15.
So you pace yourself properly.
Then you get up. And at the end of the day, 4 gas stops later, at the end of the day, you're not beat to hell.
Right.
You still got energy to set up your tent, go and eat. I have gas and go a whole day. And I was starved and had all I wanted to do was I just laid on the bed and fell asleep with my boots on and stuff. Like literally, it's that exhausting.
I see.
Yeah.
No, I've never owned a motorcycle. My dad had a really nice one that he wouldn't let me ride, but I managed to sneak it out a couple times when he went away. Got caught once doing that. A couple friends of mine had motorcycles, and I got to ride them once in a while. The one I remember in particular was coming across the old Portman Bridge in a rainstorm on a Suzuki 550 that was a rattle trap, and realizing about 3/4 of the way across this bridge that I really didn't have any control over the steering wheel at all. Like I was just basically,
ride.
And so slowed down quite a bit, and made it to Coquitlam, but no, never did any long rides. Never had. And probably it's a good thing. I have a bit of a lead foot. Been a speeder my whole life. Now I'm an old guy. I don't care anymore. I try not to be in a hurry for anything. If I am, I can make my way through traffic fairly quickly. But I'm not the speeder I used to be at all. But because I was such a speeder in my life, I might have done myself in on a motorcycle. A lot of guys. It's a dangerous machine if you don't handle it properly. And it's not just you is the worst thing. And this is that a lot of drivers, they don't see motorcycles out there on the road. And so you got to realize when you're driving a motorcycle that these cars don't see you, and they might just turn right into you or not stop me.
Happens all the time.
Yeah,
happens all the time.
Yeah, it's a dangerous thing.
Got to really be on your ball. It's
exhilarating.
It's very unforgiving if you're for lapses in attention or when you just kind of make bad decisions. It's very unforgiving.
I seen a guy coming into Nelson on that real hairpin turn come along there. And he's on a real brand new big Harley Davidson, and he just didn't take the corner right in front of me. Boom, boom.
Yeah, no, it happens.
He was all right, but his bike wasn't so good.
I did a ride yesterday, 10 bridges. So from my house, I came downtown. I went across the Lions Gate. I went up Cap Road, backed onto the highway, came back across the Second Narrows.
I see.
I scooted through Burnaby, down across the Queensboro Bridge, across the Alex Fraser, back over to King George, back across the Patella Bridge.
I see.
Then over just to the highway number 1 again, and back across the Port Mann. Got right off the second exit out, you get off, and I did the Golden Ears Bridge back across again.
Nice.
Out to Mission, across the number 11 bridge at Mission, Highway 11. And then deked up through Chilliwack and the back way and came across the Rosedale Ferry Bridge. And then I came back on Highway 7 and
So you actually took the ferry?
No, there's no ferry.
Oh, there's a bridge
it's
now?
It's called the Rosedale Ferry Bridge.
Because there used to be just a ferry. Now there's I've never been on that bridge.
The ferry was decommissioned in 1962.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of something else.
Bridge, yeah. So anyhow, that goes into Agassiz. And then number 7 back, and I crossed the Pitt River Bridge. 10 bridges.
And you realize if the NDP hadn't won their little minority government last time, those bridges would have all been tolled by now. That's what they were going to do.
They had the two of them were tolled.
They were, and they took the tolls off them. But they were going to toll all the bridges. So it's fun to drive around, go over all the bridges without a toll on it for sure.
Well, that's why everybody who ran down the Patella Bridge was just packed because there was no toll on the Patella. But
it used to be when I was a kid. There was a toll on the Patella.
And then the Golden Ears. It was just the Golden Ears and the Port Man.
Yeah.
Alex Fraser was free.
So, before we wrap it up, got any hope for the future? What's your visualization of legalization in 5 years, 10 years? Are we ever going to get the freedom that we should have, and everybody that wants to grow weed can have an outlet for...
Well, pretty much most people, except for, I think, Quebec and Manitoba, I don't know, can grow weed now.
4 plants.
4 plants.
Yeah.
I think
you can have a jar of weed that you grew yourself, and they can't arrest you for it.
And I think that is...
Well, it's great. It's fine for consumers. Already this legalization is okay for consumers. They can still buy from the black market. They can grow obviously for themselves, and they could go to a government store if they weren't very smart. But for the growers and the sellers, those are the people that have really been hurt by legalization. And I'm hoping in the future there's a way for them not to be criminals for what they're doing, and for them to be able to share in the economy, and that the prices come down as well. That's my vision. Do you share any of that?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier, was the fact I see that the regulation is getting easier, and more people who want to get into the legal game can.
Overpriced, overpackaged, undercured weed, is that going to change?
Well, you know what? The more people who get in, they bring those changes. And I think there are some smaller players coming up now that are getting some better reviews, I've heard. Not many, but a couple. Packaging is a big one. I know they're trying to address that. Like I say, a lot of this was being screwed by regulations. But you got to remember, all the guys who started, the legal guys, none of them are growers. They're all investors.
Yeah.
So they knew how to invest money. They didn't have a clue how to grow pot. There's all this.
Somebody said, "Hey, you can invest in this plant that we're getting like thousands of dollars a pound for."
How many thousands of pounds of stale weed are sitting in warehouses right now? Of stale fucking weed.
Yeah.
If they were smart, but they can't. But they turn it all into fucking hash or turn it into fucking extract. But I mean,
and they probably will.
This is where.
And then vape pens are the future.
Yeah. Because they realize that the first go round didn't go so good.
Wow.
The only reason Ontario's doing well is because they've allowed stores to open everywhere. That's why Ontario is selling weed.
Well, Aurora
nobody's selling any fucking weed here because you can't even find a store.
Aurora says they got a 35% jump in the recreational weed sales in Canada. But there's a whole bunch of other factors that they're not including in that report. Some losses that they had, a bunch of other stuff.
When the government says, "Here's $2,000,"
yeah,
I think I'm gonna go get some weed.
Should I go to the movie? No, I can't go to the movie. Should I go to the hockey game? No, I can't go to the hockey game. Well,
get some weed.
Go buy some weed. Yep. Nothing else to do.
Essential service.
Where are you going to spend your money?
Liquor store,
food,
food.
Yeah,
going home.
That's
and
it.
I'm gonna be good. That's of course. No wonder their sales jumped.
What a crazy world!
It's
don't work. Here's some money. Stay home and smoke weed.
I mean, that one's that's not a fucking stretch. It doesn't take long to reach that conclusion. I mean, come on, it's real simple.
Yeah, and then they got the police forces out there threatening people with their livelihood and their life if they compete. So, well, Mick, it's fun. I appreciate you coming on the show and all you're doing.
Thanks,
anything you want to promote before you go?
You know what? I just promote healthy lifestyle.
There you go. And of course, we'll see you on all kinds of different media platforms.
I'm hanging around. I've got Opus 710 Adventures is my Instagram.
There you go.
I'm Mick Man, MJ Man on Facebook. I'm not hard to find on Facebook. And Opus 420 I'm on Opus 420 on Twitter.
I think you've officially lost the nickname Grumpus.
I hope so.
Yep, I think so. Yeah. I haven't seen anything grumpy out of you for so long that it's a distant memory now.
That's
when you were mad about prohibition and you hated Stephen Harper and pissed off about so many things like we all were and are.
Well, I quit drinking coffee.
Oh, is that what it was?
There you go. That's part of it right there. So I kind of lost that.
Very good.
But,
Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You're looking good. You're sounding good.
Thanks, buddy.
You know,
yeah, no fucks given. It's easy to not get excited if you don't give a shit anymore. You're
That's
just
right.
fucking
That helps a
having
lot.
I would having a good time.
Keep on having as much fun as you can. It's contagious.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you. We'll see you down the road.
What's going on with the line? Is anybody here? He's right here.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Pretty good.
So nice to see you in our pot lineup again.
Yeah, it's the only thing that helps you with my pain.
Get in line now. You'll make it. There you go, buddy. Have a good one. Good to see you, brother.
And what brings you to our cannabis substitution lineup?
I'm here to get some good weed.
And oh, that's so great. We got lots today. So how does the edibles help you out with your everyday life?
Helps me out, it stabilizes me.
Stabilize you? In what way?
While beating opiates addiction.
Everybody's had a cupcake. These are extras.
Hi, how are you doing today?
All right.
And what brings you to our cannabis substitution lineup?
The edibles.
The edibles? And how do they help you out with your everyday life?
Well, I have severe anxieties.
Here we got some chicken, infused chicken.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
And what brings you to our Cannabis Substitution Project lineup today?
I heard about it from a friend. I decided to come try it out.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. Here's our wonderful lady.
I'm good, thank you.
You want one?
They're infused with cannabis. They're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you can put it in your fridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just came down and tried out. My friend told me about it, so I thought I'd come check it out. I've been here once before. Yeah, it was great. It helped me out throughout the week. Right?
And how does it help you out?
It helps me relax when I'm at home after work and whatnot. Go to sleep a lot easier.
Sorry, guys. Thank you. Hey, how you doing, brother?
What brings you to our cannabis lineup today?
I love cannabis, man. It's good stuff, man. I get the gummies, the edibles, CBDs and stuff, THC is good.
And how does it help you out with your everyday life?
It's good for my pains and stuff and relax my stress and makes me think about other things.
Can I get a second one? I didn't come in Sunday. I missed it. That is a good one.
Yeah.
And what brings you to our Cannabis Substitution Project line?
Dope. Dope.
The cannabis?
Yeah.
And how does it help you out with your everyday life?
Makes it more bearable.
All right, take care.
Big thanks to Debbie Hellion for doing that video for us. She's been doing awesome work and interviewing those people. It's been really good down at the Cannabis Substitution Project. Of course, we had to go through the pandemic and things were rather tense there, but it's relaxed quite a bit in the last week and a half or so. We're only wearing masks by those that want to now, as far as our volunteers go. Half do, half don't. The people in the lineup are a lot more relaxed and happy these days. And that's really good to see. You know, it's been a big stress on everybody, but huge kudos to the people of British Columbia and the government of British Columbia for clamping down as quick as they did and getting smart as quick as they did to get this virus under control here. The population that we deal with on downtown East Side are very vulnerable and all at high risk for the problems that can happen from a virus like this. And it's only because of a lot of diligence and conscientious work by public servants and the public in general that got this thing under control here. And so the last couple times we've been at Van Du with the CSP, we've had slightly less people than we had previously. So that what that means is that we're able to distribute more than normally to the people that are there. And our goal at the CSP has always been to be able to provide as much as people actually need. We give out care packs with 4 to 6 edibles in them, and that's not enough for a lot of people to get through to the next time that we're there. So we allow people to come through the line a second time, and if we have more left over at the end, then they can get a second pack. And there's a number of people that are getting that second pack, and in my opinion, getting as much as what they would need to get through to the next time that we're there. And that's very powerful for people, because they're facing a lot of barriers down there with respect to access to things in the first place. And for most of them, we are their only source. So very happy with that. Very happy to have Dublin Calling join John Murray in providing food, infused food for people. Our edibles are in the form of gummies and cookies, caps, and things like that. So it's been really good to have John Murray coming down for, I don't know, probably a year now or more that he's been coming every Sunday with some sort of infused, decent, hot, nutritious food for people. And now Dublin Calling has joined us, and they're coming down on Thursdays. Sometimes we have John and Dublin Calling there giving out stuff to people. It's been a really wonderful thing. I can't thank all of our volunteers and all of our donators enough for helping all this happen. It's a marvelous project that has been flooding the downtown east side with cannabinoids for the past 3 years and 3 months. And there is a very noticeable difference, not just amongst the people that come into our lineup, in the attitude and health of these people that has improved over those years, but also just in the neighborhood in general. There's a lot more people helping out. I want to give a shout out to Shannon Bowman and Dave from the Blue Door. They've dedicated the other half of their space and their dispensary space close to Main and Hastings there to giving away things that are donated them in the form of clothing, shoes, kitchenware, all kinds of things, toiletries. And so they've been actively gathering donations and sorting them out, putting them onto shelves and hangers. They could use more shelves and hangers. And it's free so that people can come in, get what they need, and it's free. So there's a whole bunch of things like that going on. I was there just the other day with some clothes donations that came from my friend Paul Hunt and Mary McCarty, and dropping them off there to see about a dozen volunteers, all eager to help, all capable people doing wonderful work in helping out a demographic of people that suffer a lot of different ways, suffer the barriers of poverty, of ill health, of lots of different things, substance misuse and other issues that are down there. And those people do need a lot of help. And in tough times, many good people step to the forefront. And I just want to give a shout out to Shannon and all of her volunteers and all of our volunteers at the CSP, to all the people that have been stepping up and helping out in these strange and trying times that we're having here. There's a lot of people, a lot of families that are suffering, a lot of businesses that are suffering. And I just want to thank everybody that steps up and does something when they understand something like that's going on. There's people working in care homes, which is the place where the coronavirus is here in BC. We have a number of different care homes where there's been outbreaks. And to all of those people that continue to go to work there to look after those people and care for those people, I can't thank them enough. Those people are our elders. They are the people that raised all of us, and now they're all by themselves and alone. And here, even in BC, even with our numbers way down and moving into a different phase of opening things up, people are still not allowed to go into the long-term care homes. And that puts a great strain on the families of people who have loved ones in those institutions. It puts a great strain on the people in those institutions who can't see their family, and it's very important that they have some loving human contact. And so that role is being taken up by the care workers that are in those places, and they're the ones who are stepping up and filling some of the voids of loneliness and missing family that's happening there. So kudos to everybody that finds it within themselves to be that person that steps up and helps. And I hope that everybody's like that. And I think that there's great value in doing that. And I've said it many times on the show that if you're lucky enough to be somebody that can help somebody else, well, that's a very fortunate place to be, and you should relish that good fortune that you've had. And if we all stepped forward and did what we could, we can beat this. and we can beat everything else that comes along. Human beings are very resilient. We are one big family. We are all one love. And maybe times like this will bring us a little closer to understanding that, and we can set aside many of these petty differences that separate people and keep us fighting amongst each other. And we can see that in the bigger picture that we are all just one, and we are all just family, and we should all just cooperate with each other as best we can. And those people that are angst against that and operate against that, many of them, if they were shown some love and some compassion and some reason to have some hope that humanity can be positive and can be that way, then I think they could maybe change their attitudes as well. Hope is a very, very powerful thing. And when you see good people doing good things, it gives other people hope that the world can be better. Because many people who are antisocial and unhappy are that way because they've lost hope and they don't have any faith in humanity, and they think that all people are bad. And it's too bad that they feel that way, because all people are not bad. And it's too bad when the bad actions of some people taint people's opinions to think that everybody's bad and they ruin it for everybody else. But, you know, these are times when if you look around and see, you'll see that there are unselfish, caring people everywhere you look, trying to help. That's what I see anyway when I look around, and I'm very happy to see all of that. And other than that, for coming events, there's still not a lot going on. With meetings and gatherings not really happening. But in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, we haven't had meetings about it, and I'm not sure if there's going to be an organizing group, but in my opinion, I think that the numbers continue on where they are now, that we're going to have a gathering at Thornton Park in Vancouver of cannabis enthusiasts, and we'll have a cannabis day. I would not be suggesting such things if you're living in Montreal or other places where they have not got the virus under control. For those of you living in those types of places, be very careful. Stay safe. Keep yourself and your families safe. The way to do that is to recognize how this virus is passed, and to keep your hands away from common touch areas and mostly away from your mouth and face. And to wash your hands if you've been in contact with any of those types of areas. And especially if you're not feeling well, if you have a fever, a dry cough, and those types of symptoms, don't be coughing or breathing on other people. Stay the hell away from other people. If we all do those types of things, and we're especially careful around the vulnerable, then you too can get your neighborhood and your province or country or city in control of the virus enough that you can perhaps, get back to some degree of meeting with people, and maybe we can have sports again and concerts and other things like that. I really, really, really hope so. And we all need to do that in areas where there is the virus active until it's under control, or we'll have it spreading around and shutting things down, as we move forward. So let's all get it under control so we can open things back up and go back to living life with some semblance of normalcy. Other than that, I certainly have to thank Cannabis Culture for allowing me to have the show here and use the studios. We have other shows on Cannabis Culture. The 420 Lifestyle Show with Carly Marley and BC Bud Gal every Monday at 4 o'clock. There's Greg Williams with Under the Influence, from Under the Influence. Greg has been running pot TV shows for 20-some years here and has just a wealth of information to pass on, and a great way of looking at things in tough times. And there's Jeremiah Vandermeer with Cannabis Culture News Live on Fridays. I don't know if Boss Lissa's still doing a show. Hasn't been on for a while.
She's still definitely the final boss list.
It's just that, the high score is not operating at this time. She's the manager there. That was a show that was happening while she was here with her staff and just taking a break to do a little show on Saturdays at high noon, and probably just in hiatus waiting for a high score to be able to open up again. So that's what's going on. I'll be back next Tuesday. Big thanks to you for listening and watching the show here. I hope we've provided something of value to you, and that, as you move forward in your life, trying to change the world in positive ways, make sure to have as much fun as you can. See you next week.
Are we still banned on YouTube? I'm Marijuana Man. Welcome to From Under the Influence. If they had weed, guaranteed they would make money. That's the only conclusion I can come to, is they don't have any weed. Because people are still going to buy it, for God's sakes. People actually like weed and want to buy weed. And a huge number of people have no choice but to come and buy it from you. And still, you can't make money? Holy fuck. Now what? What are you going to do to us now? When I was even at a very young age, go, wow, like, why would this be illegal? It is so much fun.
Outlawing laughter and feeling good?
Yeah,
What?
laughing. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Peace. And pod.
Hi there. Welcome to the 420 Lifestyle Show. I'm Carly Marley. She's taking a dab. Thanks.
We can play the Sick Moose video.
Oh yes, Sick Moose video. Let's play the Sick Moose video.
Yeah, so that's my home. That's like all over the place, I guess.
It helps the speaker lead his audience into the scene he describes.
Oh, I'm rolling out the fattest joint I could possibly fit in this paper. If it was any bigger, it would explode.
Hello there, first-time viewers. Welcome to Pot TV. Welcome to Pot TV.
Let them go! 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 Let them go!
It is only now, once we've reached this point of critical mass, that I could really tell you the story, because that's the interactive nature of the internet.
Pot TV is an internet video-based site. We've had over 6 million shows watched. We get about 10,000 shows watched a day. Shows on growing marijuana, medical marijuana, politics of marijuana.
And at that time, most magazines or books revolving around marijuana were prohibited literature.
From cookbooks to grow books, books about the cannabis culture, mushroom books, even psychedelic books.
The mass injustice being done where millions of people in this country are being scapegoated, having their rights and their property and their leisure time and their privacy and their freedom of movement all stripped away from them.
And they pulled me off the line, and pushed me down and put me in handcuffs, and they locked me in the patio.
This is what it's all about. A little green plant. You, the taxpayers, are being asked to subsidize a war on a little green plant.
I know it's scary and difficult and frustrating, and politicians are a fraud. Try and change that and be a voice of truth.
For many, many years, decades.
In 2001, Canada legalized marijuana for medical purposes.
Pot TV news flash breaking story, July 9th, 2003.
I became leader about 9 months ago.
You have how many locations and how long have you been serving the people of the community for?
Well, I started in 2004.
Because as long as you're not hurting anyone else, as long as you're not causing any harm, then why should you be dealing with police or prisons or agents of the government?
A former DEA agent and author of Powder Burns, Cocaine Contras and the Drug War.
In the media often, and the media reports uncritically all too often.
I saw this video and I was like, whoa, man, seems like there's something to this.
Join me weekdays on Pot TV.
We're going to be doing a new show here on Pot TV.
On Pot TV, Telling Your About combines poetry, music, art, video clips, and photographs with a variety of interesting guests who are involved in the medical cannabis industry.
It comes on air at 4:20.
Cannabis indica, or Indian hemp. It was tasted by the priests on sacrificial occasions.
So I'm gonna stop and smoke a joint. Just figured I'd show you my surroundings here. Beautiful, beautiful little flowers everywhere.
Hemp and its many applications, how hemp can be made into paper and fuel and clothing and that.
2 different samples. Now these are the same cut, grown in the same room with 2 different soil mixes.
As a line diagram, okay, and this is
a cross-section of a bract.
Now on some of these plants too, there's something called pre-flowers that form. Sometimes 8 to 12 weeks into the veg cycle, you can look 3 or 4 sets of branches down from the top. Hey, wait a second, I'm not even smoking joints. I'm talking.
We need real cannabis dispensaries. Many patients who use cannabis as a medicine need access. You're taking the medicine away from sick and dying people.
Let's overgrow the government. Let's have more marijuana than they can ever stop.
But while you sit here enjoying this, remember those who are in prison this moment, locked away from their loved ones, locked away from their friends, and that could be you.
Just want to say thanks for watching Pot TV. You can't get higher on the net.